Well, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining me on the first of this new series of training sessions looking at basic user skills. This is starting right from the beginning, looking at what a user sees when they first start using Sage CRM. It's all about finding our way around the product, getting to grips with it, and making sure that we're covering the basics of navigation and getting the most out of the investment that you've made. Now, what we're going to do is in this series is to deal with, as it says here, getting started and moving around, and it's all part of this CRM fundamentals lesson plan that we have. So again, we look starting off in today's session at some of the basic navigation all around the product, see what you can understand from a user's perspective. We'll then go on in the next lesson to looking at adding and changing contact data, searching for data, looking a little bit more at sophisticated searches with the advanced find, and the idea of then using that knowledge to help us build standing groups and queries using the idea of dynamic and also static groups. We'll work as well. We'll go on then and look at the idea of working with appointments and tasks, working with emails and documents, and then going on to thinking about the way in which the core modules within Sage CRM, such as customer service and sales automation, work before we look at something that is a little bit more of a sophisticated management reporting feature, which is the sales forecasts. But that's all the fundamentals of Sage CRM, and as we go through there, you'll get so used to the ideas of navigation and where all the features start to fit together. Now, in this particular lesson, and we've got everything is less than 30 minutes. In this lesson, we'll be looking at how you get started, find your way around the screens of Sage CRM, and how a user can also then start to control their own experience of Sage CRM by controlling things such as the menu, the preferences, some of the dashboard arrangements. Although dashboards will have its own series of lessons a little bit later on this year. So where do we start? Well, we should start from the beginning. And here you can see my desktop, and you'll notice that my desktop right in the middle has got an icon, which is the quick start or quick link to be able to call up the browser and start at Sage CRM. Sage CRM runs within a browser, the full experience. There is a browser, whatever type you're using, whether it's Edge or Chrome, whether it's Safari, or in fact, if you're using something like Firefox, and also if you're using even Opera, Sage CRM can work with all browsers that are, especially those that are Chromium based. So if we have a look at, if I follow that link, you'll see that I come into a log on screen. Here you can see that I'm starting the process of logging on as a system administrator. Now, the logon experience may be different for different users. So, for example, if your system administrator has set up the system so that you use IIS auto login, no one will ever see the login screen, because just by clicking the link, they'll be taken straight through into their landing page within inside the product. And what we've got here, though, is in a situation where people are not using IIS auto login, but rather they are presented with a logon screen, and you'll see that you're expected to enter in a username and a password, and you've got the option there also to change the password. And it might be that there are different password policies that are capable of being set up. Your password may more password policies may be set by the system administrator to require users to uh, recreate a password the very first time that they enter the system. So you're assigned a user, but the next time they log on, they're forced to change that password. And there can be longer and more complex passwords required based on the choices that the system administrator sets. You may also have the fact that your password is only uh, set to last for a temporary period. So system administrators may force a password expiration on a regular or periodic basis. And there may also be different lockout policies applied if you forget your password. So that raises the question of what do we experience on the screen. Forgetting your password is one of the challenges that any user may face in any IT system. And if I think about the experience, this particular system doesn't have an automatic way for the user to remember to get a hint or a reset of their password. But in fact, Sage CRM can do that. But you'll notice here on my version of the screen, do you notice how I now have a forgot my password button underneath the logon screen, the logon button. And you'll notice that this is available because my system has been set up to be working with HTTPS, so it's within a secure system. And you'll notice as well, I hope that it shows you that that it's also been configured. So if I had forgotten my password, I could, because my system has satisfied all those different criteria and the system administrator has set this up, I'd be able to press that and get going. Otherwise, if we don't have that, the system, you actually have to go through a manual process of contacting your system administrator and saying, I've forgotten my password. Now, having said that, let's assume that we've reset our password, and you have to put in your username that you can remember, and then you can reset it, and it sends you an email message giving you the details of how to reset the password. But our experience, let's assume that we're all right. We have been able to log on. And this is where I'm going to switch over into a live demo of the system to take us through the rest of this particular part of the training session. And you can see that I'm all ready to log on as the user Susan May. So I'm logging on. In my system, I haven't had to put a password in. In reality, in a live system, you would have to have a password, and it would have to match the strict policies of your organization. But what I wanted to consider now are the screen elements that you can see. Now, I'm going to keep my browser working so that you can see the address bar. So I'm not going to maximize by pressing the F11 button, which I'd normally do when I'm working. But here I want to point out that everything is running within the context of my browser. And you can see the URL that is presented that manages the context of where you are within Sage CRM. That information in that URL, a user doesn't have to be really aware of, but it just changes as you move about the system. And the menus and options at the top of the screen will also start to change. First of all, you've got our Sage CRM logo in the top left. If you ever press that, that returns a user to their starting or landing page within inside the product. You've got a menu, which are the main functional menus, as you can see here, that describe the different areas that a user may have permission to use. What exactly appears depends on a user's security rights. Here I'm a user with quite extensive user rights, something called a info manager. So I'm able to see information within the marketing tab. I'm able to see reports, and I'm able to use features such as the team CRM to be able to see what my colleagues are doing working within the product. And you can see that I can navigate then to look at different areas of the product. Now that My CRM menu actually is the same as this horizontal menu here at this moment because I am in the context of the My CRM area for the product. Now if I look to over towards the right hand side of my screen, you can see I've got a quick search panel. So if I was to start typing in here, you can start to see that that will come up with records that may or may not be matched. In fact, in that case, I don't think I've got anything set. The cataloging hasn't completed yet. Excuse me. But I've got options such as notifications, favorites. I've got my details of recent items that I've looked at, any favorites I've set, and I can go into here into my user menu, into the person menu to be able to go into the choices of preferences or into administration if I had administration rights. I've also got this little plus symbol, which is the new menu, which allows me to identify all the new tasks that I want to be able to carry out. So I can carry out different items. Now, the rest of the screen will change as I work, but my landing page has brought me in looking directly at my dashboard. The dashboard displays customizable gadgets that show relevant information and data, and it allows me to carry out quite a lot of work. Whereas we've seen elsewhere within the options what those other areas of the top screen are doing. Now, my dashboard, as I said, is this central area of work. I can view and manage activities through here. A user may have multiple dashboards that are set up for them so that they could switch backwards and forwards to different dashboards. In this particular case, now I've switched back into actually being a user focused on tasks. And you can see that in my case, I've got listing out of items that are available, and I can start to carry out tasks within these gadgets that are displayed. So the gadgets aren't just about displaying lists of information or a calendar or graphs and charts information, but they can also allow you to carry out work directly in here. So it allows me to, for example, access a report by clicking on this. I would open up the report, or I can actually click on a button within my listing, in this particular case of open opportunities, and start to perform particular actions, such as carrying out workflow tasks within inside the system. So it's thinking of this is very much as a control panel or cockpit where everything is brought together for a user. And these dashboards can be created by a user themselves with or rearranging an existing dashboard that has been given to them in the form of a template. Now, moving about and getting to different parts of the system is relatively easy. So we want to be able to go to a record. Well, one of the easy ways of going is to thinking about, well, what is it we're going to look for and find? And so I might want to look for a company, and I happen to know that I can go in and look for a company like Gatecom and search for that. and I can search for my company, Gatecom, clicking into bringing that up to where I'm working straight away. Now, you'll also notice that I've marked this as a favorite, and so I would always be able to find Gatecom underneath my favorites here. And so that's another way in which we can navigate quickly to frequently accessed items of data. So when you move into a new context, and the main context within Sage CRM would be looking at the company, looking at the person, looking at the opportunity, looking at the case, looking at the communication itself, the menus that you see running horizontally along the screen change. And so there's different information that is available as we're working. But once we're on an entity screen, you'll see that there are various tabs that allow you to look in at the work that's been carried out. So, for example, if we click on something like the Opportunities tab, you'll see all of the opportunities associated with this particular company. The People's tab will show the people associated with that, and you can then go and look at the different telephone calls and correspondence that has been made in the form of the Communications tab. You can also set up notes which allow for ad hoc, unstructured information to be recorded against data within inside the system as well. And there are other, depending on the entity that you're looking at, you may well find that you're looking at information that is brought together in a particular way. So, for example, here I'm looking at the narrative, and that narrative summarizes all of the different interactions that we have within inside the product. And these, if we move and navigate by following hyperlinks to different related information, I can change from looking at where I'm currently focused on, which is the company, to now focused on a person record. Again, I could make this person record a favorite of mine, and I can go and look at the tabs that show the details for that particular person. You can see here, for example, some of these tabs are shared with the company. So if I look to look at opportunities, that's because a opportunity is linked to both a company and a person record. If I go down in looking at a particular opportunity, you can see that very clearly where the company and the person are mentioned here, and certainly again within this for area of the screen. When you come into a record, you're looking at something called the summary screen, and the summary screen gives you actions on the right hand side that are appropriate to that entity and may change according to your rights. So you may have the right, according to your system administrator, to look at something, but you may not have the rights to change it. And you may also not have the rights to be able to insert certain types of data within the system as well, or certainly delete information as well. So your experience of Sage CRM will change depending on the rights that you've been given. But if I go back to looking at, say, my company, and I look here at how I've got several people within that company, I can choose to say I want to look down at Simon Yaltoy's information. But if I wanted to compare one bit of information with another piece of information, I can use the idea of a pinned tab to be able to do that. I can open up another tab, and this is there available for me to then be able to go and navigate and look at, say, another person within the company. So if I go back to the company, and I open David Costello, I can now pin David Costello's details, allowing me to be able to compare the two windows easily. These are in read-only mode, so there's no danger of any data being corrupted by keeping Windows in edit mode there. And I can keep them open for as long as I need to. And when my session expires or I log out, the ability to further carry out further work in those windows will be finished as well. Now, if I am working in a particular area and I want to understand more about what I can do in this area, I've got a number of things that I can do as a user. I can find help by using the context help button. And here you can see I've just clicked help and it's opening up now a pop-up window that is making a live call to the documentation. Close that and see whether that actually is going to behave this time. There you go. So the tab has opened up and I now have information about opportunities, allowing the user to explore what that means. Elsewhere within the product as well, if I go back and I'm looking at, say, the company and I'm working on the company summary screen, or I'm looking at the information as a whole, I can see in parts of the organization, parts of the screen, what are called coaching captions, which allow me to get additional information about how that particular part of the product works. So this is another form of information that can be used. From a system administrator's perspective, this can be useful because if the screen has been redesigned in any way and there is new information that is critical, this coaching caption can be displayed to remind people on the specifics of how a implementation of Sage CRM has been carried out. But another way of getting immediate help is to be able to use the feature, the chatbot, Sage CRM Ally. So I can open up Sage CRM Ally and I can go and ask a series of questions. So, for example, how do I use the sales opportunity workflow? Now I can ask the questions and Sage CRM Ally will provide the information, and it will provide the information if you have not specified for a particular version, it will always specify for the current released version of Sage CRM. So here it's 2024 R2. So it's presented me with the information that I would need to be able to help me carry out my tasks. Now, Sage CRM Ally as a feature is very useful. All of the features that we've seen so far are very useful, including things like the dashboard. If I go back into the dashboard area, and they are under the control of the user. So how much and what the user wants to see can be determined by their preferences. We've got the preferences option, which is accessed through the My CRM menu or through the profile menu. Here it's the same screen, but if I go into preferences, you can see that there are choices about what we may want to log on to immediately. So I can see my preferences are to log on to the dashboard, but another person may want to log directly onto, say, the opportunity screen, opportunity list, or directly into things like the case management screen. If another user opens up, they can choose that. You can decide as well whether pipelines are being displayed. You can choose aspects then, including here being able to control what is your default screen for when you enter in to a company, whether it's the dashboard for at the level of the company or the summary screen. Lots of configuration can take place about your experience of using Sage CRM, including your date and time preferences, and the way in which numbers are presented within lists. So all of these allow a user to be able to control how they want. A system administrator may set up standard profile information for users as they're loading and provisioning the system with the users, so that this isn't, if you like, something that has to be done, but it does allow a user to be able to make fine controls over their experience. Another important way that a user can work with things is if they find that they want to be able to concentrate on a particular screen. So if I come to a company screen, they can make choices over how the horizontal menu in that context works. So for example, I can click in to these ellipses button here, and you can see that I can decide to turn off the display of certain tabs, or to move the tab option into what's called the More menu, which is associated with each menu. So I can change this to simplify how I want information displayed on the screen. Another important change that I could make as well, back inside the area of the dashboard in my dashboard, is that I can start to change any of these gadgets. So I can create a brand new dashboard for myself. I can create new dashboards and add them into structures that I want, or I can rearrange for myself the dashboard in any way that I like, changing the display of the different gadgets. I can also change when it comes to the ability to search for information. Here you can see, and this is something that we'll be covering in another lesson, the idea of saved searches. So these are particular to you to be able to find the information that you want. So again, quick ways of working can be set up so that a user is in control of their environment. And what we've seen there is how a user can get started, how they can look and find their way around the screens of Sage CRM, how a user can control their experience of Sage CRM by setting their own preferences. And we're now set for our next lesson, which is going to be adding and changing contact data.